Hi, how are you? It's so good to see you. My goodness, you are beautiful. It's nice to see you. So I am Caleb. I am a very, very super green new principal, new director at High Tech High in San Diego. We're located like right on the beach, so it's all super swag, super nice. And I am also like incredibly blessed, incredibly stoked to be here, to be with Bo and learn from the people here, and the work that's being done in this place is outstanding. So I'm super stoked to be here. So I'm gonna share a couple of, I have no idea what I'm gonna say just yet. I've been known to be emotional, but what I promise to do is to try to balance that with both affective thinking and cognitive thinking too. So part of my hope here today is that what I share with you is not just a one night, there it is, and now it's gone, but maybe some resources that might allow you to dig in more deeply about some of the ideas that I'm sharing with you today. And at the end of this slide deck, there are a whole bunch of different contributors, because I am not like the arbiter of it, whatever that it might be. I am literally standing on the shoulders of giants, people who have given great thought, great effort, great energy to this work in education. So I will be giving them shout outs all over the place, forgive me, but it really is for your benefit too, so that you can dig in a little bit more deeply where you see fit. So let's see how this works. Oh, okay, so that's me. Excellent. We already did that. So I'm going to be sharing a bunch of stories mostly, and there's going to be this common sort of thing around love and disruption. And they're going to be essentially kind of connected directly or indirectly with the ideas around imagination, creativity, innovation, and design. So this was in the news just recently. This was in the newspaper, San Diego Union Tribune, and right in the middle of it, it highlights this central idea. It's not that revolutionary, actually. The idea is very simple, that to be competitive today, we're building on some of the themes that were already commented in our first two speakers. To be competitive today, students, workers, graduates need to have creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurial skills. That's it, I'm done. Yeah, so that's and this particular researcher is John Egger, who is at San Diego State, I think he's at San Diego State, yeah, San Diego State University. But I also want to give you some other resources too. So just in case you think this is just one guy writing, I'm going to give you some other resources. One of them is Tony Wagner. He is the innovation in residence expert at Harvard Graduate School of Education, wrote a fantastic book called Creating Innovators, reference number 2. Young Zhao's work called World Class Learners. It is about what's happening on the planet around creativity and entrepreneurialism in education, and why our kids are now competing globally with kids trying to get into both schools and trying to be competitive for jobs. Let me give you one more. The third one I will give you is from the World Economic Forum. In 2020, they are predicting that the top 3 skills, it's WEF, World Economic Forum. This was produced March 2016, I believe. And it is this. There are 3 skills that are top 3 by 2020. Number 1, and in fact, I'm not sure if these are in the right order, but these 3. Creative problem solving, innovation, and the ability to solve open-ended problems. Problems that you don't know how to solve. Problems that are ambiguous, where you have to take something you learned here and you have to do something with it in a novel situation. So we've got some challenges. Where I come from, High Tech High, these are our design principles. You can go to our website, hightechhigh.org, to read about those design principles. But this is what we use to design learning experiences that amplify creativity, imagination, entrepreneurship. They are marvelous at doing it. I love going into a classroom as the principal dude, and I get to watch them it's like watching Pablo Picasso paint. The artistry by which great teachers design powerful, deeper learning experiences for kids. High Tech High is an equity project. It started in the year 2000 between Larry Rosenstock, our beloved founder, and he's still with us today, and the founder of Qualcomm. Back in 2000, actually it was 1999, they could not find enough graduates to work at Qualcomm. So they got together and said, what if we created a school that was inherently about creating kids with these types of skills? So equity is a huge issue for us. We are an equity project. In fact, Larry Rosenstock says all the time this. He says, the more narrowly you define intelligence, the more broadly you define what is not intelligent. And for so long in our schools, we have kind of mined kids' minds for this narrow band of intelligence and said, you are intelligent, fantastic. So this project, this equity project, is about a celebration, about the diversity of talents, strengths, passions. So when we design work, we don't start with standards. We don't say, you need to learn standard 1.0. Authentic work is a design principle for us. And authentic work means it's work that is meaningful to you as a person, meaningful to students. And when teachers teach with passion, guess what the kids learn? It's amazing. It's amazing. And San Diego is a great place to visit, by the way. So if you ever get a chance, come see for yourself. I am not going to do it justice on this stage in 10, 15 minutes. But the experience of walking through, talking to kids who have adult experiences, who can talk like adults about their experiences in the classroom is fantastic. So this is how we get it done. So this is literally a project planner. We actually start with brainstorming ideas. Like one of the pushes that I give our teachers is this. If you do a project, it should have your fingerprints on it. It should be something that is inspiring and important to you. Here's an example of one. Jessie Wade Robinson is a learning experience designer in our school. She teaches 11th, 12th grade biology. She is fascinated with heart disease. So the students in her class for the past 2 years have been studying a project that's about the relationship between fruit flies and healthy hearts in human beings. They collaborate with the University of California, San Diego. They have professors come in and talk with them. They go out to the field to engage in learning with real professionals and talk about real stuff that has a human impact. Not every kid has that sort of passion, but they at least learn about experiences and engage in learning that has a human impact for themselves or for the broader community. So when we talk about designing epic projects, we are literally trying to design experiences that promote entrepreneurship, innovators, creators, producers, kids that can make cool stuff. And it's pretty sick. Oh, okay. Nothing will be complete without talking about the people. I can talk about projects all day long, but it's about the people. Not them like globally. Oh, and by the way, ignore those red cups up there. We are in a church, I think. But every one of those people right there, They are awesome. And I am learning about them. And I know a little bit about them, but I know a lot about the things that they are passionate about because it comes through in their work. And in fact, sometimes I have to say, stop working. Go home. Relax. Don't work on the weekends. But I can't stop them. They absolutely love what they do. Here's an example of a project. I think I can point with this thing. So where is he? I can point probably any one of them. He likes this guy. He's a funny guy right here. This is Jeff Lohman. Jeff loves all things related to mushrooms and fungus. This guy right here, this funny guy right here, that's Andrew Lorario, that's Adam Borick. Mike is in there someplace, and so is Brian Delgado right there. Those guys are like insane. Those are the rocket guys. They love to build rockets. And I'm not talking about, kit rockets. They actually take sugar and paper, and they build rockets for less than $5, and they launch them into the sky. This was the first week of school. First week of school. By week 2, they had built the third iteration of their models, rocket models, and launched them 200 feet up into the sky. Some of them went sideways, made me a little nervous, into the residences. So you take a deep breath, Caleb, it'll be okay. And then they are now building their next set of rockets that they can't launch on school grounds. They have to go to this other place. But they are launching rockets now that go so high that they have to get a permit from the state to allow them to launch them into the sky, take pictures, and now that has kind of evolved into weather balloons and astrophotography and so many other things. But that can't happen if I say, you need to teach this, you need to teach it this way. Doesn't happen. That comes from the heart and passion of each one of those people there. So to me, you can't talk about doing awesome projects without talking about awesome people that have an awesome culture that gives them the confidence, permission, the faith to be able to try things that might and will likely fail. And you got to have their back. So I'm going to tell you a quick story here. So I used to be a graduate student at UC Riverside. My mother's going to kill me. I walked away from an $80,000 fellowship at UC Riverside because a superintendent called me and said, Caleb, do you want to talk about poverty in education, or do you want to do something about it? Well, yeah. Great. So I left UC Riverside my first year as a doctoral student and went to work in the hood, working with kids, and it broke my heart, to be honest with you, because we were doing a lot of this stuff right here, factory-oriented kind of working. And the behaviors I saw in class were passive, shallow learning, consuming, memorizing, replicating, the kind of stuff that just bleeds the life out of you. I taught in that school for 8 years, and I just felt like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I felt my soul, leaking. It's like, I got to do something else. And then I was fortunate enough to get connected with, or leave that school and go to another school where the culture was different. And kids were engaged in different kinds of learning that were much more active, that had a lot more to do with collaboration, reflecting, making, building, synthesizing. And I mention all of this because if not just we as one school, but if we as a nation are going to look at how to create these dynamic experiences for kids, we got to have the culture in the right place. Because teachers, every single teacher I ever met and have worked with, they want to do badass work. They want to do cool work for kids. That's why they joined. That's why I joined. Because you want to do epic stuff. You want to see the joy You want to see the uncertainty. You want to see the ambiguity. You want to see them like struggle and emerge. That gives me chills, man. That's awesome. But if the culture isn't right, teachers will not take those chances. They will do their jobs. They will go in their classrooms, close the door, and do what is minimally required. And that's about it. But if you create the right culture, you got a chance to do some cool stuff. So let me go ahead and push forward. I believe that we have to pay attention to culture. Culture matters tremendously. And this is not just my theory. There is a body of research called Firms of Endearment. These are all of your favorite Fortune 500 companies like Southwest, like Trader Joe's, like BMW. There's a bunch of others. And they have figured out that to love your employees and care for their whole well-being creates excellent value. My suggestion is, if we are going to try to push toward having more creative, dynamic, entrepreneurial-minded sort of experiences for kids, we have to love the hell out of every single teacher. That's what we got to do. And we have to support them where they are, not generally, but every single one of them. Because it matters. Culture eats strategy for breakfast all day long. You can have the very best idea, but you drop it in a bad culture, forget about it. But if you have a brilliant culture, brilliant culture, I can give them a bad idea, they'll fix it, make it better, or throw it out and do something else. Culture matters tremendously. So this is work done by Dov Seidman. He calls it the trip piece. And only thing that I've inserted there with my friend Dr. Shigala is this idea of vulnerability. You can't get to innovation, you can't get to progress until people trust each other. You can't get to risk-taking until people trust each other. And guess what? My dissertation was on trust. So I'm going to share a couple of things with you. So I'm going to share two things because of time. Teachers, my dissertation research was this question. What sort of behaviors what sort of principal behaviors do teachers perceive as being trustworthy? In other words, what does a principal say and do that makes the teacher feel like she or he should trust that principal and trust his or her colleagues? So two things, I'm going to give you two things that came out of that. One is, maybe three things. Vulnerability on the principal part. Humility. Openness. Vulnerability. Humility. Openness. Vulnerability. You don't know all the answers. You put yourself as a principal at risk for your teachers. You're going to make sure that you have their back. Humility. Lead with more questions instead of directives. Ask the group what is important to them. Who should we be? What kind of school do we want to become? What's really in our heart of hearts? Speaking of which, the last part, number 3, openness. Openness isn't about just exchanging information or sharing ideas. It's about openness in your heart. Does the principal, does the leader, does the principal share his or her heart openly and talk with authenticity? Or do they just sound like empty suits, going on about mindless babble or whatever? Can you keep it real is what we're talking about. I'm going to keep moving because I know I'm probably a little short on time. So when I talk about culture, I'm not just talking about everybody wear the same shirts on Friday. Yay. We're not just talking about like nacho cheese and chili, we're not talking about Fat Fridays. All those things are nice. What we're talking about is how the culture works, how people work together. And there are three things, and I stole this from Intuit because they are heavily invested in design. They're a tax company, by the way. They're heavily invested in design. My question for us is why? And what can we learn from them? So when I think about things that can be designed in a school, what cannot be designed? Rituals, communications, spaces, curriculum. All those things can be designed. There are opportunities and they're ripe. Look for the thing. Well, I can go on. I better keep going. Okay, so when we're looking at like culture by design, specifically I'm talking about processes, dispositions, and mindsets. Culture is the hardest thing to change, but it is the thing that is most worth it. You can try to change a technical program, and then as soon as it fails, people throw it out. Oh, yeah, we did that already. We tried that. But if you can influence people's dispositions, their mindsets, you can have a powerful, lasting, sustainable impact on the organization, on people, for years to come. So I mentioned briefly about some design conscious companies like Intuit, but these are several others. IBM, when did they do this? I think they just announced it like 3 months ago. They're training their worldwide employees, 377,000 employees will be trained in human-centered design. Why would they invest so much money in design? It's a question, not a directive. I am curious about it. I am curious about all things related to human imagination, creativity, innovation, and design, and I think there's something we can learn there. My people. Okay, so I'm going to finish right here. I'm going to tell you a quick story, then I'm going to bail out. So if we're trying to lead for creativity, and that's my push, and that's the position of the World Economic Forum, by the way. If creativity is what we are after, human creativity, how do we lead for creativity? What kind of organizational structures support creative, original thinking? What kind of relationships support that? What kind of norms? So these are my peeps, and these are our first 8 days of school, and I had everything meticulously planned out for them. And then I just said, I'm going to step back. And here's the challenge I gave them. I asked them this thing. I said, I'm going to give you 1 hour. In that hour, I want you to create a new purpose statement for us. They did some hand wringling. I actually stepped back. And they jumped right in. They started figuring things out. And then they kind of got to this place. They had 10 minutes left to go. And they had something super lame. It was we aspire to be citizens of the world and keep everyone, holding hands or something. I said, hold on. You've got one more design parameter. I said, you have to make it sexy. You have to make it attractive. You have to make it something that speaks, so when you get up in the morning, it might sustain you that one more day. So they went on. One of the teachers there, they got into this big old argument about semantics and this word and that word. And then eventually one of the teachers said, I didn't come here to create a global citizen that's heavily connected with the world and understand his or her place in society. I came here to do badass work. Mic drop. We're done. We're done. All right, let's chalk that up. So I literally came out. I said, I'm going to own it. I probably will get fired because I have to say this in front of kids and parents now. But I own that because that's our point of view. And the only time I talk about I is when I make a mistake or when I do something wrong. I own it. And when we do awesome stuff, holy moly, they're amazing. We're still learning. We do not have it all figured out. I am Caleb Rashad. You can check me out at calebrashad.com. My contact information is there if you ever want to come out and visit. We are very thankful to Bo to have the opportunity to learn with and from Bo and from Brett and this amazing organization here at MVPS School. So thank you very much for your time.